No subject preoccupies the human mind more than the subject of death. We in the Western world have a very gloomy attitude towards death. We dress in black, we sing morbid hymns, we mourn the dead. We don't speak about death. It's a forbidden subject. And yet it's a subject in which we are all involved. We will all die. 70% of the world's religions have reincarnation as their central pivot. They believe that the human spirit separates from the physical body at death and travels to another world. They also believe that that spirit, that personality, will return to live another life. During this program, we are going to be offering scientific evidence of proof of life after death. Stunning new research. Conventional science tells us that when we're dead, we're dead. It's simply that we can't see the human spirit. During this program, we shall be offering evidence of survival of death. And we will be shining light in some very, very dark corners. We are going to be showing you some very surprising evidence. Two people that I'm talking to today, I'm sure, will shed a lot more light on this subject. We have today Ron Pearson, who is a scientist that's promoting a new type of physics, a new theory of physics, which connects with the paranormal and makes some sense of it. And to Michael Roll, who has been reading survival after death as a branch of physics, chemistry and mathematics for many years. And Michael promotes the work of Ron Pearson. And we shall be speaking to Ron a little later on. But first, I'm going to talk to Michael. Michael, I've got a little flyer in my hand here which says, "Science proves survival." And then we go on, a talk on the new scientific evidence for life after death. How on earth did you get involved in all this?
Well, I came in right from the word go because my mother had made a very careful study of survival after death, reading the work of our great scientists, Sir William Crookes, the pioneer of television, and Sir Oliver Lodge, pioneer of radio, and John Logie Baird, another pioneer of television. And they carried out experiments at the turn of the century, actually proving survival. We've had the experimental proof of survival for over 100 years.
So your mother was
yeah, she had made a very careful study of it, so she was able to point me in the right direction to the suppressed books. All the books have been published, but suppressed, so my job is dead easy. All I've got to do is point to the work that's been published.
And what sort of gave you this passion to pursue it, though?
Well, my mother didn't brainwash me at all, but she did show me this work, and as a young 16, 17-year-old, I read some of the books, and I thought how marvellous, but I realised if scientists like these pioneers of radio and television couldn't break through the barriers, because they hadn't broken through, very few people know about these discoveries, what chance would a young man of 16 have? So I carried on my normal life in business for 25 years. But in 1980, the missing mathematics started coming through. That's the main reason why Sir William Crookes and Sir Oliver Lodge didn't break through.
But what was it? Why are we not more familiar with the work of these great scientists in relationship to
well, because
survival?
when they actually proved survival by experimentation over 100 years ago, it really upset the establishment. Because orthodox science says when you're dead, you're dead. And they weren't too keen for this to get out, and they managed to suppress it.
Why on earth would they want to suppress that?
Well, because
why wouldn't it be a cheerful thing to communicate that we all survive death?
That's logical. That's a logical approach. But when all the scientific books say that when you're dead, the mind and the brain are the same, they're not keen to let it out to millions because public opinion will sweep them aside. So that's why the experimental proof of survival's been suppressed for so long. And they were able to suppress it really, Alan, because we were lacking the mathematics. The critics said to Sir Oliver Lodge and Sir William Crookes, all right, you've proved survival, but where is this next world? And they could not answer that to satisfy modern science. They put forward the theory of where they thought it was. They said, we think it's another wavelength, like television and radio. It's something beyond our normal physical senses. But they didn't have the maths to back it up.
You said a little earlier on that the mind and the brain were not one.
This is the whole theory of survival. You've got to make a separate mind and brain, because we all know that the physical brain and the body packs in. That's an obvious thing we all know. But we're saying, and the scientists whose work I'm pushing are saying right from the word go, that the mind and brain are separate, that there's a vast universe out there we can't see and sense, and that's reality. That's where we go to. It's not a new teaching, this. It goes right back to Pythagoras, Socrates, Plato. They were the great Greek philosophers and scientists, and they put this theory forward then.
There seems to be a great deal of interest in this subject lately in the scientific sense. Now, I haven't noticed this over the last few years. It definitely does seem to be growing in impetus, so to speak. Is there any reason for that, or is that my imagination?
No, it's growing because, as I said in the beginning, that if these great scientists had failed to break through, what chance would a young 16-year-old have? But in 1980, the missing mathematics started coming through.
How did that come about, Michael? This is what
well, I saw a report in the Times which said that 9/10 of the universe is missing. And I said, bingo, that must be it. That must be the next world that we're missing. I now know, thanks speaking to Ron Pearson, that I had jumped the gun a bit there. But that's what I realised, that the maths was coming through. And once you've got the maths to back up the experiment, then nobody can stop it breaking through, because Dr. Richard Feynman, a Nobel laureate for physics, appeared on the television screens a few months ago. He died in 1988. This was a recording. And Richard Feynman said that if your theories and maths do not match the experiment, then they're wrong. The experiment's not wrong. It's the theories and maths. And up until Ron Pearson coming on the scene, we didn't have the mathematics to back up what was being witnessed at the turn of the century with these great international scientists who proved survival by experimentation. So now we've got the missing maths, and once you've got that, then you're bound to break through the barriers.
Right. What you're saying, in effect, if I'm reading you correctly, is that everybody survives death.
That's what our experiments show, and this is what the mathematics of Ron Pearson shows, that we now know where the so-called next world is, which is what we've been lacking. And that's
upbeat
it's terribly exciting. It brings in 1,000 questions, of course, but all I'm promoting is that we've got the experimental proof of survival, we now have the math showing where the next world is.
Michael, you talk about the mathematics to back up these theories of survival now. What do you mean by the mathematics?
Well,
how do you mean by the tie-up between the two
It was
worlds?
a theory put forward by Crookes and Logie Baird, the pioneers of radio and television. They put the theory forward. They said, I'll tell you what I think this next world is. It's another wavelength, very similar to our television wavelengths, but at a much higher frequency. That's what they put forward at the beginning of the century. But now, thanks to Ron Pearson's mathematics, we've now got the missing maths and showing exactly where the next world is. It's where Sir William Crookes said it was. It's another wavelength. So the people are around us, we can't see and sense them, but you've got to have that medium to act as an interpreter. That's what a mental medium does, you see. Mental mediums like Doris Stokes and Stephen O'Brien stand up and they're interpreters between our physical world and loved ones in the etheric world. That's sublime work, and they've been doing this for years, putting loved ones in touch. Marvellous stuff. And then on the scientific side, we've got to have the physical medium to work with.
Well, the scientific side is what we're going to be discussing with Ron Pearson in just a moment.
That's right, yes.
So according to Michael Roll, we all survive death. And the mystery as to how we survive death is to be found in the physics and mathematics of Ron Pearson, who I spoke to at his home in Bath. Ron Pearson, Ron, over the last year, I've read an awful lot of your work. Much of it I don't understand. Much of it I find absolutely intriguing. A new view of the universe, you know.
Yes.
Connected with survival after death. How did you get involved in this, Ron? How did you get started on this area? Your work is like a whole to me. It's answering all the questions, and I'm intrigued. So how did you